Hello and welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. At Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I'm Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer at the Center for Victory, here with a newly found friend who is also a Yinzer, believe it or not, coming out. He's joining us today actually from Arizona. He's been out there, but he is a born and bred Yinzer, Kevin Chirilla. From K2 Adventures. Kevin, thanks for being here. I know this is going to be a fun podcast today, and it's just it's a delight to have got to know you the past year or so. So welcome aboard here
Thanks,
on the podcast.
Eric. Thanks for having me. Hello, Pittsburgh. It's great to talk to the Yinzers. You know, I've been 30 years transplanted out of Pittsburgh in Phoenix, Arizona, but I'll always bleed black and gold, and you know, my heart is always with Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So if you guys want to look this guy out, I mean, this is fantastic. I mean, I've never been on adventures with someone or people that are, one, extremely organized. There was never a time on these adventures, and we could talk more about it, Kevin, that I was like, what are we doing? Like, it's all planned out. It's a good time. There's a ton to do. And I think even with, was even ironic in the Grand Canyon that we did this year, most of the group were Yinzers.
Yeah.
And
you know, when we get teams like that, where they come with a group or with, you know, maybe a company or things like that, or a family that are all from the same area, like-minded people, and can talk the same sports and, you know, adventures together and all that. It's a lot of fun. So I had a great time with your group, and man, was it fun to just reminisce, I guess.
Yeah, it was. And so this is going to be, you know, this is a podcast. Really, we're talking about, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, but especially as the holidays come up, Kevin, and this whole idea, my family's always been big on experience, not gifts, but experience. And last year, you know, my wife's gift to me was my first trip with you guys, which was to Japan to climb Mount Fuji, which was unbelievable. I mean, would go again. But before we get into all that, like, we're going to talk about that gift of experience. Tell people about K2, because you've been around. I mean, this is something, I mean, you do this. I mean, you live, eat, and breathe this stuff. So, and that's why I think your company's kind of cool, because you are very focused on this. You're definitely what I would call an expert, subject matter expert at something. So, you know, just take us from where K2 started, your kind of vision too, and then where it is today, please.
Yeah, you know, I've been mountaineering and guiding now for 30 years. And 15 years ago, I met my business partner. Her name is Kristen. So the K2 is definitely a play on words with K2 the mountain, K2 the skis, K2 outdoors, whatever you want to think about. But it's truly Kevin and Kristen. And I met this incredible person when I was guiding a group of 8 blind individuals to climb Mount Kilimanjaro for the Foundation for Blind Children here in Phoenix. And it was a fundraising climb for that organization. And during the process of putting that team together, I needed another female guide to guide a blind female. And when I met Kristen, it was more from the fundraising standpoint. She was running a nonprofit. She was in the world of, hey, how can she raise money for other organizations that are in need? So when I first met her, that was the sole purpose. But then after I met her, I said, wow, you know what? I really need another female guide. Would you think about doing this? And, you know, it was one of those, you know, things where Kristen had never slept outside before, never slept in a tent, never spending time in the outdoors, but she was around the world of people with disabilities and giving back and helping. And that's truly what she fell in love with first, was the concept of helping Cindy, who was a blind climber. So from that trip, we came back to Arizona, and we talked a little bit more about how can we create a business where we have I had always wanted to give back more to the countries I traveled to. And I knew that the way to do that was to have some sort of a nonprofit attached to that travel. And the fact that she was in the nonprofit world now for 30 years, and she was running her second nonprofit at the time. So when we had talked about, hey, let's start a travel company together with a separate nonprofit, and we'll have them benefit, we'll have the foundation benefit from our travel clients. And that's what we've created in the last 15 years. We go to some amazing places around the world with the philosophy of, hey, we're not just going there to take from this adventure. We want to give back. So the majority of our trips, there's a give back component to it. And, like you mentioned earlier, the way we've set up our company is that customer service is super important. Safety is the number one factor. And when someone signs up with us, we want them to be able to come on a trip and know that everything is taken care of for them, and they can relax and just go with the flow of an itinerary, knowing that everything is going to be covered. And, when you do these amazing adventures to some remote places in the world, yeah, things can happen. And you got to trust the person that you're with or the company that you're with, and, what's their experience, and, what's their, connection to the local people and all that kind of stuff. And we just tell people, hey, we have taken care of that for you. Just sign up, come with us, and we'll take care of an amazing experience for you.
Yeah, and then you have amazing guides too. All your people.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't met all of them, I don't think, but
Yeah.
close to all of them, and they are. I mean, they're amazing people from around the country.
Yeah, we
And
have 11 guides from 6 different states. So, and everybody with great experience, male, female, we have guides in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And, and I say that because then people can relate to that, when, a 40-year-old woman wants to sign up for one of our trips, it's a lot easier for her to relate to Kristen and talk to her about it and get that female, experience and viewpoint and, answers than it is from me, and vice versa. But, it's one of those things that we've set up our company that way where, you're going to have a mix of male and female guides with you. And, we're all wilderness first responders, and we get recertified. And, all of our guides just have, they support our foundation, and they love adventure just as much as we do.
yeah, and it is, like I said it earlier. I mean, we're doing this as a holiday kind of podcast to get kicked off right before the holidays here.
Right.
And I love experience. I mean, you can't, there's really nothing. I don't think so. I mean, maybe people think so, but I don't think there's anything that you can go out there and get. Like a new iPhone's not going to get it for me. Right. A new computer, not even a new car. It just doesn't do it for me. No. The way, and we've kind of raised our kids like that. I've gone to other countries where we've given back. I've done my trainings and things like that. And you do come back refreshed too. But this whole idea of experience, and I think people would, if people are listening to this, there's, Caleb and I were just with each other Friday night, and one of Kevin's guides, and someone that most people would see on the podcast a few times here and there. But there were 2 people before I left, Kevin, that came up and said, "Hey, what's your next trip?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, and I had to give them my phone number." So I'm like, "Hey, look, I have next Friday, I'm talking to the guy that we went with. We're going to be doing some things too. But, if you want these bigger adventures, you really, kind of tune in, wait a second." But the big question that comes up, and I know your response to this, but I'd like you to tell people, because some people struggle, I think, just getting out of their comfort zone and maybe doing these things, or saying, "Hey, that's not much of a present. What's that going to do for somebody?" And I had somebody actually, as soon as we came back from Fuji, I told him what was going on, and I said, "Why would you want to do that?" And I was beside myself, Kevin, because I'm like, why would I not want to do that?
Yeah.
But I mean, what's your answer to that question? Like when people say, why do you do, these adventures?
Well, I definitely think the way we set up our adventures, it has a profound impact on people. And I say that because anybody can go on a trip and, be a couch potato on that trip. You can relax at the beach, sit at a pool, go on a cruise and really do nothing. Like, but that is an adventure, and you do get experiences from that. But I think with us, when you go on these adventures and there's a component of, hey, we're going to do something physically and mentally hard, right? Harder than what you put your body through a lot of times ever, right?
Ever.
Or it's one of those ones where you haven't done it in 30 years. I get that one. You get these middle-aged people and you say, man, I haven't done anything hard since I was in high school or college, right? And so now you get to go, we'll use your trip for example. Most people have seen the iconic photos of Mount Fuji, right? Most people know that Tokyo is an incredible city, and the Japanese people are very welcoming and loving and fun, and there's this, that, and the other. But there's a lot more to Japan than just that. The pure beauty itself of that country is stunning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then not only do you drive up and look at Fuji, but then you spend 2 days climbing that thing, right? You're doing almost 5,000 vertical feet on one of the most iconic mountains in the world. And, you just can't show up and do that, right? You have to put in some work prior to leaving. So whether you live in Pittsburgh or Florida or Canada or another country or out west, it doesn't matter. You still have to put in the work, right? So you go there and think about what you endured this year and occurred on that mountain. The first day was 6 hours of pour down rain, right?
It didn't
And
stop. It was
sideways blowing
relentless.
wind. It was relentless. Everybody got into the hut just wet, right? But we dried out. We had an incredible dinner and, talked for a couple hours, went to bed, all confined to this little, hallway of just stacked on top of each other, little cubicles. And that's where we slept until 1 a.m. You get up and you start hiking by 2. And, what did we occur that day? 40, 50 mile an hour winds, right? So, when you go through that and you get to the top and have this amazing sunrise and, you feel this sense of accomplishment, you'll never forget that,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll never forget how much you had to work to get there and the beauty of the place. And that's an experience that you get way more out of it than, if you took a cable car to the top, right? Or if you just stayed down in the city and looked up at it, anybody can do that,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes a special person to go that little bit extra. And, I think the great thing about going with something like K2, we've had people from 8 years old to 85 travel with us. We've had people from 19 countries. We've had people from literally couch potatoes to say, hey, I've always wanted to get going. I need to get going. I need to get my health better. I need to get my mental state better. Can you help us with that? To the elite athlete, to some really elite athletes that do these things. And they come down and say, wow, hardest thing I've ever done. But man, what an accomplishment, So I think no matter which trip people go on with us, and we go back to your Fuji trip, we take pride in the fact when we hear that from people to say, man, I didn't realize it was going to be this hard, or wow, I don't think I could ever do anything harder than this. So anything thrown my way now is going to be a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
We hear a lot of that, or we get parents that come with their kids. And sometimes it's, one parent that comes with a kid. And we always tell them, hey, there's going to be a special bond there that you guys are going to have that you'll never, recreate another way. And they come back and I'll say, hey, contact me when you get home and you see that change in your kid that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they call back and they say, Johnny and Susie did something that I didn't have to tell them to do, or they just have a little bit, a little more giddy up in their hop in their step, and those are the things that sometimes we don't get to see again, but they're told to us by especially the parents.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just saw it there, saw it in the canyon. It's just and really it is. Yeah, I look back over the pictures of Fuji that we had and stuff, and that first day, I mean, that was like that would be, I wouldn't even go out here and walk in that kind of weather. I mean, I'm like, what the, but you know, what was fun about that is there was such good spirit with everybody, and all
Yeah,
the pictures that I'm looking at were smiling. I have one picture of Caleb and I, and we had these big grins on. And, you know, the whole time we're saying, yeah, this is going to be a story we can tell. But
right.
it's with all those people. I knew no one other than well, I'd met you on Zoom. I mean, I met you and Kristen, but other than that, and the people that were going, but other than that, I just knew only two people, Caleb and Sarah, who were your guides. But I felt like, after that first day of doing things with folks, is, that tightness of the group, you start looking out for one another. I think the experience of just getting out of the way of yourself, relearning some empathy.
Yeah.
I mean, because that was tough for people. I mean, we had some people that we had to help out, and it's nice. It was nice for me to see that. Actually, it was refreshing,
Right.
especially in the world that we live in. But that was also part of the experience. But getting to the top, I mean, and I don't say this lightly. I mean, I sat down at the top there, and that wind was blowing like crazy, and it was cold, but I didn't feel cold. And for about 15 or 20 minutes, I just sat there, and I don't usually get too emotional, but I had tears running down the side of my face, and the young boys that I had gone with, we ended up getting to the top together that day.
Right.
And I felt pretty cool because here's all these 20 something kids, and I'm getting a selfie with them at the top of the mountain, and they're like, hey,
Right.
that guy's pretty cool. But I mean, that was all part of the experience. But seeing the sunrise that day and knowing that, hey, look, I can overcome that. I mean, I've had both my knees operated on. I've had both my ankles broke. I've had both my wrists, my elbow. I mean, that was a lot. It was a mental thing as much as anything, the first one.
Yeah.
So it's just getting
And one of the
getting
things I love to say, and it's the greatest analogy, is that the mountain is the greatest equalizer. And the reason why that is so awesome is because it doesn't matter your status, how much money you have, how old you are, what your gender is. It doesn't matter what your beliefs are. It doesn't matter, right? And if you truly want to get to the top, you have to dig deep. And I tell people all the time, there's suffering is a part of the equation. And
mm-hmm.
if you don't like to suffer, if you're just, one of these people that wants everything handed to you on a silver platter, then this isn't for you. And it's okay to say that, like, okay, this isn't for you. But if you really want to change and you want to have like a reset, both mentally and physically in your life, that's a profound change. Don't make this a one and done. Make it a life habit, right? Hiking for me, I just turned 55 and I'm still in some of the best shape of my life. And it's because it's that whole value of, I take value in being healthy and wanting to be active and sharing these experiences with other and being an example. I think it's funny. Sometimes I run into these other guide companies where, the owners have never been around, right? Nobody who knows the owner, but hey, I haven't told one client to do something that I haven't already done, and many, many times over. I'll have my 50th summit of Kilimanjaro coming up this coming June. And, when people come to us and they ask questions and then they want to second guess it by asking the 21-year-old that works at REI that has never been out of their state and for advice, or they go on to a YouTube video and say, well, I watched somebody say this. And it's just like, okay, hey, you're not for us. That's all right.
Yeah.
So anyway, it just goes back to experience. And both Kristen and I are, people that walk the walk and talk the talk. Like we do that. Like whatever we say, we're going to do. Right. And I think, with 20% of our clients as repeat clients that go on to another trip, like you've done multiple trips with us now, it just happens because people do trust us and they see the safety and they see the success rate that we have taking, I think that's the funny thing too, is, sometimes we get these teams of, let's say 20 people that want to climb Kilimanjaro, and, the ability levels of everybody range from A to Z, but yet everybody makes it to the top. and I think there's something to be said for that. We prep people the proper way, we make sure people train the proper way, we make sure they have the proper gear. That's really important. So I think all of those things added in, no matter where you're at in your life, with this change or whatever experiences you want to have, we're here to help you with that. So
yeah. And for me, when we took the Grand Canyon trip this past September, and when I say we, my wife went with me.
right.
If anybody has ever read my book, about her condition. She had a heart condition when she was very young, had a stroke when she was pregnant with our daughter, has overcome that. So it was extremely emotional for us,
right,
doing that, getting through. And, I know as soon as I could get cell service coming out of the canyon, Kevin, you actually said, "Hey, call me." And you would give me a little point, and I would just, and what was funny about it is that we needed that, like, just, hey, he's still there. We're almost there. We're almost there. Because
right.
that last 3 or 4 miles is a beast.
Yeah. No,
But
and you know what? And again, I think it's great when we see people really push themselves, and I'm sure you and your wife may have seen a change in maybe your relationship or how you look at things, or just another experience that you probably continue to talk about. And that's what we want people to take away from it, and to go to one of the 7 natural wonders of the world and hike the Grand Canyon, we get 10 million visitors a year to the Grand Canyon, and less than 2% ever drop below the level of the rim. So to go all the way across and do 25 and a half miles in one day, and I still think it's the most beautiful place on the planet. I really do. No matter what time of the year, every time of the day, it changes with the sunlight and the storms that blow through and everything that happens at the Grand Canyon. It's still this, like, you're always in awe when you look at it. It's like, and then to look at it now and say, wow, you crossed that whole thing and you did it in one day. And man, you suffered, but that next day felt so good. Like, man, I can do anything now.
it does. I mean, that is the big thing about that experience. I mean,
Right.
and for she and I, like, hey, like, we got this. We're doing it together. And again, it's that mental piece, right, that we can overcome, because we work together too.
Hmm.
All right. So, anything that we're doing together, it just built that. It's that layering. The neuroscience scientists say, the neurons that fire together wire together. And then and I think that happens, like, when you go through an experience like that, when you go through it with somebody you care deeply about. I mean, I was extremely proud of her for just entertaining the thought
Right.
of doing it. Because I know it would, I mean, physically, she looks like $100. I mean, she's, fantastic, but you wouldn't know that underneath that there are some heart issues and everything. I mean, you guys did take care of them. I mean, she had calls with Kristen and things and check-ins and things like that. But that experience with her, along with the other people in that group, was phenomenal, because you just, I mean, that's the whole thing I'm trying to get at. You don't forget that. We're not going to forget that. Nobody can take that away.
Right.
That is there. That's locked in. That's an experience we had. And there's just so much more to that than just giving somebody, whatever it is, money, a gift, a present.
Sure.
The experience is where it's all at.
I think we all grew up with that saying, a picture says 1,000 words, right? And I've always believed in that. Even when you come home and you start showing photos to friends and to family that weren't there, it never gives it justice. And, when I first started, traveling 30 years ago, I used to take as many photos as I possibly could. And I would come home and I thought everybody'd be just as fired up as I was. And you find out they're not. And you're like, okay, forget that idea. I don't need to show anybody photos anymore. But you got them all right here, right? And in my mind, I have a million photos and a million moments that just the blink of an eye catches a moment, right? And that's an experience that's going to stay in my head till I die. And I don't care whether anybody else knows about it, sees it, hears it, about it, whatever, I have it, right? And I think too, experiences can be selfish from the standpoint of, I love when I meet people that travel by themselves. I really do, because I think that shows a lot of character, a lot of strength, a lot of, just, trust in what they're doing, number one. But I think, again, even if you're with a group or if you're alone, you still capture experiences that only you can explain and only you can feel it, right? So I have a million of those that I can't put a price tag on, right? So like you said, you can give money as a gift, things like that. But there are experiences that are priceless to me that I didn't pay for, right? It's something I saw or something I did or something that was said when I met somebody new. That's the great thing is, when you travel, you meet people from all over the world. And I think we all grow up in this American bubble. And then you take it smaller, here I live in Phoenix, Scottsdale. There's my little bubble, right? And some people never leave those bubbles. But once you get outside and now you start hearing people from other worlds and other countries say, no, 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 this is our perception of your country. You guys all are honky dory with everything. So, and you know what? I love to hear that too, because, it's great to hear other people's perspectives on whether it's our politics or, whatever it may be. And, that's an experience too.
Yeah. So run down for everybody, because I want, obviously I'm going to be doing more with you guys. I mean, it's going to be probably one of those regulars. But what experiences do you have coming up? I know what they are, but like, can you run down for people what they are? We're going to put a link in everything too, so they could check it out. But
yeah, when you go to our website and go to our destinations page, we start off our year every year going to Argentina. We do Mount Aconcagua out down in Argentina. And that's an amazing trip. It's a long trip. And it's also, you have to have some experience under your belt with that for sure. But, people that have traveled with us to many of our destinations, that's the next step up. Hey, can I go to 22,800 feet and how's my body going to hold up? And it's one of the 7 summits. And, it's just an incredible place. Argentina is beautiful. And then we're off to, we start our Grand Canyon trips. We run Grand Canyon trips throughout the year from May to October. And we also do private Grand Canyon trips. We get a lot of those. That's very, very popular. We also do Peru. We do Machu Picchu in Peru. Again, that's a 3-day adventure on the trail. It's 12 days door to door. That's a very popular trip. People love going down and, seeing the ruins of Machu Picchu and learning the culture of the Incans and the Mayans and the Peruvians and just so many fun things down there. And then we go off to Tanzania. Tanzania is one of our favorite places. We were there June and July. We also run trips throughout the year if people want to do private trips to Tanzania. But there we do a lot of community service trips. We do climbing of Kilimanjaro. We go on safaris. We have an orphanage there. We work with a local hospital. So we have some really amazing new adventures coming up there with community service and building the White Hat Project, which is our women's shelter. We have our prosthetic center there where we put legs on individuals. We're up over 100 people that we've put legs on now. So we're super happy about that. So we have a really amazing opportunity to work with Honor Health. Honor Health is a big medical provider out here in the West and especially in Arizona. And, we're working with their 4 and 5 year residents, doctors, and in doing an amazing community service where they're going over to 2 local hospitals, one in Tanzania and one in Kenya. And they're going to be doing a lot of operations and a lot of just work with the local community and, giving of their time. So all of these new things that we do in Tanzania are just fun. We towards the end of the year, we have our trip to Nepal every year in October. And, that's a two different trips. We do Everest Base Camp, Mount Everest Base Camp we trek into. And then we climb a peak called Island Peak, and that's a just over 20,000 foot peak. It's a technical climb. Again, if somebody wants to step up their game and do another fun trip and a little bit harder than normal, that's a trip for you. So those are our trips. And again, there's service involved with many of those, and there's always a way to give back to our foundation, which, our travel clients love to give back. You talk about experience again. One of the things going with us is, people can go and have these experiences with anybody, but it's truly the give back that people talk about more than it really is the climb or the summit or, the suffering on the mountain. It's how how they felt when they held an orphan's hand and that kid showed you a ton of love, right? Those kids love you no matter what, and they came from nothing. And that's the other thing about travel is, you go to these third world countries sometimes and you're amazed at how happy people are with very little, right?
Yes.
And I think that's the greatest impact that it has on, especially when we take high school kids or middle school age kids on these trips, is that, for the most part, our kids grow up with a lot,
Hmm.
and more than what they need for the most part. And when they see a kid that has a dirt floor house and, the same clothes every day, but yet they are happy and they're running around and laughing and smiling and, sharing and caring. And it's kind of like a shock to them, right? But it also has a reset in their mind. We've seen some incredible resets with kids that, thought that, you know, they had everything in life, but yet, they see these kind of kids that really have very little, but yet maybe they're happier than they are, right? Or maybe they have a bond with their family that's a little different, right? And I think that has a lot to do with, you know, being in the trenches and being in with the locals and being immersed in, our guides that love our people that we bring, right? And they show their appreciation for our clients, and then you get to learn a little bit more about them and what they do and their families, and it's fun. And I think those are experiences that mean a lot more to people than, again, just that adventure part of the trip.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the first Africa trip that my son took with me, he was 12.
Yeah.
And I remember that was over like this period where now like Thanksgiving, we came home for Christmas and we're celebrating Christmas. And he breaks down in tears before he gets to open his presents. I'm like, dude, what is it up? And he said, I'm just so thankful,
Yeah.
because you can see it, but he experienced it. He
Yeah.
experienced how little they have. He experienced how much. I mean, because there were a lot of kids that were his age
Yeah.
in the orphanages that we went to and stuff. And and he literally was in tears and he's just like, there's nothing wrong. I'm just happy. And it puts
Yeah.
things in perspective. And there's no gift I can give that kid other than that experience that he had
Yeah. And
to know
my
that.
son was the same way. My son's now 24 and he started going to Tanzania with me when he was 12. And one of the big things that was a part of his life was lacrosse. So he did a drive where, he raised he got a bunch of sticks and gloves and balls and helmets and jerseys, right? And we took it over and we taught these kids in Tanzania how to play lacrosse, right? He was, I think, 14 when he did that. He's been back many times with me, but I think he was around 14 at that time. But he still talks about that. Like, Dad, I started lacrosse in Tanzania with kids, right? And these kids still send photos, and they send, with the way you can communicate now with social media and a cell phone, and they share photos and they share stories about, and he still talks about it. So, those are things where our company tries to set up these experiences for people that's way beyond the norm, you know, and people really appreciate that. And again, we just flat out say to people, hey, like, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do it, and you're okay. Go find someone else, do it as minimally as possible, how many days and how much money and all that. And, that company's there, that exists. So go find it. Right. But if you truly want to go with us and have bigger experiences and, get more out of a trip than you can ever give back, you know, um, you know, is pretty amazing to people. Right.
Yeah, so I don't want to forget to bring this one up because you're going back over to Africa next year, and this is a big one for you to climb once again Mount Kilimanjaro. So to climb
Yep.
Kili, this is going to be your 50th 50 folks. This will be this man's
Yeah.
50th time he will summit Mount Kilimanjaro. 50. That is amazing, and we're going to celebrate, aren't we?
Oh yeah. No,
Okay.
we're this and you know what? I take a lot of pride in that because it's not about how many summits I have, it's about how many people I've guided.
Yeah.
And that's truly what it's about. It's not about me, it's not about a number. It's about how many people do I meet and how do I form these teams that work together to all be successful and have this experience, right? That's truly what it's about. So, but I'm looking for to build an amazing team of 50 people. We're going to do a lot of specials with this team too, because we're going to have a team jacket. We're going to have a team hat. We're going to have everybody that's going to go. They're going to be involved with some service work that we're going to donate a leg, a prosthetic leg in your name that will go on an individual, and your name goes on their wooden foot. And that's something that we always do, but that's something that we're going to include in this. We're going to do raffles. We're going to do a team party on a 1-day safari. And all of this is going to be to just really celebrate something amazing. And again, it goes back to that experience. You know, if I can get 50 people, I've had teams bigger than 50 before, but if I can get 50 people to come with me to celebrate this, momentous thing, I'd be really happy.
Yeah.
So if you all want to join us, I'd love to have you, and we'll go from there. But I'm really
I'll be celebrating a different 50, Kevin. I turned the big 50
the
next
big
year.
five.
So you're gonna have 50 people for your 50th summit, and I'm gonna celebrate 50 years on this planet with you too. So
Nice.
I think that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
again, if you're interested in it, like
Yeah, I'll give you all the information.
yeah, don't sit there, folks, and just say, I think I'll put this off till next year. Just go do it. Like there's no way. I don't think there's absolutely no way you would regret it because they're just great people, all the way down. The organization, Kevin, your organization, you and Kristen, great. All the things that you do to prepare people ahead of time. If you're not prepared, you're just a dummy, and you probably should go
Right.
someplace else. You
Right.
know everything, and I was laughing about when you said the young kid in REI giving you advice because
Right.
we went to public lands and I had all your stuff printed out when I went
Right.
in there, and I'm like, no. That's not what they told me. I already had a call with them, and this is what they said to get because they were
Right.
trying to do something else. I'm like, no, this is what we're doing. But it's a great experience if you're thinking of something else to do for somebody. You don't know what to get your significant other for a gift. You've been with them for years. Another sweater, another tie is not going to do it. Another ring's not going to do it. Have and maybe go do it together. Maybe have that experience together, whether it's in
Yeah,
or
and you got to do it both ways. You went and did Fuji by yourself, and then you came back with your wife, and again, I just think that's amazing. And you shared a little bit about that, and how it's affected you guys, and getting back to my 50th. Also, it'll take me over 1 year being on the mountain. Right now, I've spent 360 days on the mountain, so to go over 1 year on the mountain, it'll take me to about 1,900 miles on the mountain, which is enough to hike from Phoenix to Vancouver, British Columbia, just to give you an idea
oh,
in
wow.
miles. So, I'm really excited about that. And, anything that we do, you guys are more than welcome to join us.
Yeah, and when is that, Kevin? Because I'll
Yeah, it's going to be June 10th through the 20th.
June 10th through the 20th. Okay.
Yep. 21st, 10th through the 21st.
Okay. All right. Because I know
Yeah.
you had spit some other dates around there about the 1st of July or something like that this was months ago when we
Yeah.
were talking. But so
Yep.
June 10th through the 20th,
21st.
2024 through the 21st, June 10th
Yep.
through the 21st, 2024. We'll get you the information, folks, to sign up for that. hopefully the
I'd love to
first.
get some Yinzers. I
Oh
took the
man.
Terrible Towel to the summit of Mount Everest. I don't think anybody will come and do that, but I think I can get some Yinzers to carry Terrible Towels to the summit of
Oh,
Kilimanjaro.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that was the great thing about the canyon. And
I know, right?
all everybody, you knew who was who because you saw the black and gold proudly
That's right.
supported even in the canyon.
Well, I will say this, carrying the Terrible Towel on my backpack to all these places around the world over the years, I've gotten so many comments, and it strikes up so many conversations because I can meet somebody from another country and they may not know a thing about, sports or American sports or whatever, but they can recognize the Terrible Towel and that represents the Steelers no matter what, right? And
That-
they may not know the game or whatever, but they know the Terrible Towel.
yeah,
So
that was true. Caleb and I were just out in Glacier not too long ago in October. He and I went out there and we got done hiking one trail. We're out at the end and there's a lake. I can't remember what trail it was, but um, yeah, we had our terrible towels on our bags.
yeah.
And there was a couple that was sitting there. They had been there for a while and just kind of resting. And they're like, "You are from Pittsburgh, aren't you?" And they were
Yeah.
Cleveland fans.
I
I'm like,
love it.
"Oh no."
That's right. Cleveland doesn't hang anything. Nothing.
So yeah, I mean, it is a great experience. And I believe this, and I know you guys preached it. I think that was, I didn't really need a whole lot of selling points, but the fact that you guys believe in that too, that to go and have these experiences, to give back, things that just, that right up my alley.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know you're coming to Pittsburgh. I don't
Yeah.
know if this will be out before then, but hopefully we can see you then too, Kevin. But anybody that's interested, we'll put all the information. Give us a call. I mean, you can get us
Yeah.
on our website too, but we'll put all the information there. Any last words, Kevin, before we end?
No, Eric, I appreciate you having me on. It is a great topic. I have found since, COVID hit, people would rather invest their money in experiences than just, try to invest in another way and hopefully something works out.
Mhm.
We're not going to cheat anybody on this trip. And the only way you'd get cheated is if you cheat yourself and don't put in the work and don't get out of it what you should. But, we're definitely going to provide you with an incredible experience and a trip of a lifetime. And we really mean that. We have over 85-star reviews on TripAdvisor, and that's for a reason. And we take a lot of pride in that. We take pride in our customer service. And, like you mentioned from the very beginning, we have incredible guides. And, Kristen and I and Taryn, we run a tight ship and we love it that way. So thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Hopefully to have you back on again, but mark your calendars, folks. Let's at least see you
Yeah.
to
50 for
celebrate
50,
with
baby.
Kevin. 50, 50, 50. I love it.
That's
Um,
right.
but hopefully we'll see you when you're in town, Kevin. Appreciate you being on. If you
Thanks,
want more
Eric.
information, you can go to K2 Adventures. We'll have everything on our site here too as well for everyone. If you
Cool.
want more information, you can visit our website at centerforvictory.com. And just remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet. K2.
Thanks, Eric.